In this video, I would like to showcase 15 Japanese YouTubers who I've personally enjoyed watching for learning Japanese. Now, even though I've learned a ton from these channels, none of them have actually anything to do with learning or teaching Japanese. They are just regular Japanese YouTubers making content in Japanese for Japanese natives, and that's exactly what makes learning from them so effective. And the same will apply to pretty much any native Japanese YouTuber, meaning that you don't have to watch the same ones as I did, as this video is more of just a list of recommendations that can help you get started and hopefully inspire you to eventually discover content by yourself that you personally enjoy based on your own interests. The reason YouTube is such a great tool for learning is because the Japanese used in most YouTube videos is pretty much as natural as it gets, and there is an abundant amount of content to choose from, and even if you don't understand everything right away, unlike with movies or TV shows, most YouTube videos are not heavily story driven, meaning that even if you miss a few words here and there, it doesn't really matter too much, especially because most of the content is going to be relatively comprehensible regardless, just from the video alone. The way I used YouTube for learning was that I looked up every word I didn't know from the automatically generated subtitles as long as they were accurate, and I also created an Anki card for each of those words. If any of this confuses you, I recommend watching my full series on how to learn Japanese and how to sentence mine, where I explain pretty much everything you need to know, and I also have a live stream VOD of me sentence mining from YouTube, as well as a few other resources, all of which will be linked in the description along with the channels I'll be introducing in this video. So without further ado, let's get started.
どうも、Inakamonです。あまりにもね、更新の方をサボりすぎて、そろそろ皆さんに僕の存在を忘れられてるんじゃないかなってね、そんな不安を時々思ったりするんですけども、こんな感じでね、第3の物置、中に大量にあったゴミを捨てていって、地面のね、掃除を行っていました。
So the first channel I would like to introduce is Inakamon, and as you probably noticed, his Japanese is definitely very difficult to understand for a learner, but his content is golden. He has this series where he bought an old Japanese house in the countryside that he slowly started clearing out so he could actually live there. However, pretty much every nook and cranny had some kind of a surprise waiting, so it essentially turns into a full-scale renovation. The way he renovates, however, is in a very DIY type manner, in the sense that he essentially completely wings it without previous experience, and as long as it works, he's happy, which also really adds to the charm of the series. However, I feel like this series is not so much about the renovation itself, as much as it is about the overall adventure and the experience. In this case, the journey most definitely is the destination, especially considering that Inakamon himself considers this his life project, not something that he needs to rush through or get absolutely perfect on the first try, which is a mindset that I feel is becoming increasingly more rare nowadays, which unfortunately stops people from getting started with their endeavors in the first place or prevents them from getting very far due to stopping early. It was also the series that kind of inspired me to finally start renovating the abandoned store as well, which was a project I had been wanting to do for a few years already, and I also made my own series from it, which definitely ended up being one of the more memorable experiences for myself as well. Like I said before, Inakamon's Japanese is rather challenging, so it might be a bit overwhelming at first, but most of the videos have manually created Japanese subtitles as well, which are very helpful for looking up words and sentence mining, so even if your Japanese is not advanced enough to comfortably understand everything, I still recommend checking out the channel, especially since you can always revisit the series later once you become more advanced, which will allow you to watch it from a new perspective, making it feel like a fresh experience once again.
どうもこんにちは、瀬戸康史です。皆さん、自分のやりたいことできてますか？仕事とか勉強に追われてついつい自分のやりたいことが後回しになってって、気づいたら自分のやりたいこと全然やってねえじゃねえかっていう風になっちゃいますよね。じゃあいつやるか？今でしょ。
The next YouTuber I would like to introduce is Seto Koji, and out of all the channels I'm going to be showcasing in this video, I've definitely spent the most time on watching this channel. Seto is probably most known for doing product reviews, however, I think it's more accurate to say that he mostly makes videos about things that interest him or whatever he wants to talk about, whether it be instruments, computers, cameras, vacuum cleaners, more personal things, or even reviews of ice cream as well as new releases from restaurants. Before YouTube, however, he was mainly part of an acting group, which is also why he has lots of skits in his videos.
だから最近英語の勉強やんなきゃなっていうのはすげえ思ってるんですよね。じゃあいつやる？今じゃ！今じゃ！
There are so many well-made videos on this channel with so many great moments that obviously I can't share all of them, but here are some highlights from a few videos that you can also find the links to in the description.
このサイトでね、ちょっとね、面白い見つけたんでね、ちょっと今日動画撮りたくなっちゃって。これ、ボーカルパックですから。俺がね、気になったのが、ジャパニーズ。と思って。Linguistics by Non-Like 女子は。ジャパニーズあったぞ。聞いてみるよ。いきます。
あっち。
これ8か。8だ。8ってか。
あっち。
8なんだけど、あっち。4難しそうだよ、4いってみようか。4いくよ。俺が言うと4ね。じゃあこれジョシュアが言うと
C
C できたか。これ聞いてみようか。いきます。ジョシュアのレッツゴー。
行きますよ。
ちょっとジョシュアちょっと待って。行きますよだよね。行きますよ。せーの。
行きますよ。
これめっちゃいいの手に入れちゃったかもしれない俺。これなんだろうね、日本語で言うとシット。いきます。ジョシュアのシット。
チクシュ。
うわこれめっちゃいい。次シャラップいきます。シャラップ2。
うるさいよ。
うるさいよ。これめっちゃいい。俺めっちゃいいの手に入れちゃった。ドン。めっちゃ可愛いね。ほら見て。すげえ。ちょっと待って。ちょっと待って。俺1個気づいた。ちょっと待って、気づいてないことだった。俺ここしか見てなかった。いいでしょ。カラフルでいいやんと思ったの。でここね、胸のところにシュプリームって書いてあって、これアメリカ国旗いいですよ。これかっこよくてね、アメリカのブランドですからいいねと思ったんだけど、ちょっと待って。裏あったの。いきますよ。せーの。裏最高。ペリペリ上がっちゃおう。ペリペリペリがいっぱいついてる。大公式だー。全然抜けないよ。抜けた。皆さんチェックしてください。こっから取り出すってことか。はい、出ました。こうやりたくないこうやってやりたくないね。これね、心臓これね、USB で USB してこう切って、こうやって自分の心臓をこう切る。早く進めろ。レビューちゃんとしろ。ふざけんな。悪口ばっかり。はい。
Since Seto has been active on YouTube all the way from 2010, his style has evolved multiple times over the years, and each era has its own specific vibe, which makes even the older videos worth checking out, especially since now in 2023 they can be rather nostalgic. I'd also like to mention that he has two additional channels. One is his second channel, where he has recently been uploading the aforementioned comfy food reviews that are pretty great to watch whilst eating, as well as a gaming channel where you can also find his pretty entertaining Minecraft series, which is essentially a let's play that has rather high effort editing with various skits, and over time it kind of unintentionally devolves into a personal vlog with a bit of Minecraft on the side. However, for learning Japanese in terms of comprehensible input that progressively gets harder, this series might definitely be worth checking out. There is honestly so much else I'd like to say about Seto's videos, such as what I already said at the end of my DaVinci Resolve video, as well as that his video production as well as editing is just very inspiring, but I feel like I should leave the rest of it for you to discover by yourself.
倒していいのかな。この四角いのなんだ。ブロックを壊せるんだ。何これアルカパ。作業台って何に使うのかな。敵じゃないのかな。前作ったのそのまま残ってるんだ。洞窟みたいのがある。出られないんですけど。ゾンビの村話せんの。増えた。なんで水が消えるんだろう。これでどんどん上行けちゃうんじゃない。飛び降りて死にます。どっから出てきたんだ。朝になった。武器を作れるんだ。やっと剣できた。もう発見ばっかりだなこのゲーム。
Another channel I'd really like to introduce is PiroPito. Now, some of you might actually already know this channel from videos such as Username 666, which was a really creative horror video made in 2008 that's still very interesting in 2023, as well as other videos such as My House Walkthrough, which I recommend that you pause this video and go watch, because ironically, the creator of those videos also made one of the most relaxing and peaceful Minecraft series I've ever seen. What makes it especially interesting is that he didn't use any guides nor look up any information about the game, which when combined with his personality and creativity led to one of the most unique Minecraft series of all time. Not only is it very interesting to see whether or not he's able to figure out things such as how to make the Nether portal, but he also just does things that most people will never do, such as build probably the longest cobblestone bridge anyone has ever built in survival mode. Since I don't want to spoil anything from the series, I unfortunately can't say much more, but right now he's actually focusing on making his own horror game, and by the looks of it, it once again is going to be a very unique project. Also, in terms of learning Japanese, not only does this series have English subtitles if you're still in the stage where you can barely understand anything, but the first dozen or so videos also have manually created Japanese subtitles, which are an absolute godsend for looking up words and sentence mining. He also speaks in a rather relaxed manner, the content is relatively comprehensible, and the dialogue is pretty sparse, so it shouldn't be that overwhelming either. And finally, I'll just say that this series has been one of the most enjoyable and memorable experiences for me on my Japanese learning journey, and I'm sure the same will apply to many of you as well, which is why I definitely recommend checking it out. So, the next YouTuber I would like to showcase is PDS Kabushiki Gaisha. Now, I had heard of PDS a long time ago already, but I had never really seen his content until I eventually discovered his Summer House series, which once again is about buying an old Japanese house in the countryside and slowly renovating it. However, since it was my first introduction to the channel, I really didn't know what to expect, yet somehow it still managed to defy my expectations. Comes out that PDS is known to make rather peculiar content, for example, experimenting with whatever random ideas might come to his mind, no matter how ridiculous they may seem, or whatever the consequences may be. Essentially, in terms of renovation and everything related, this series is extremely haphazardous, but that's exactly what gives it character. It's once again much more about just doing it and enjoying the experience by having fun during the process, instead of over-concerning yourself with all the small details to the extent that you never start because it's safer to stay in a comfort zone. He also has content related to bodybuilding, casual arm wrestling, cooking, and whatever else, all of which have his own personal bit of genius and personality added to them. He's also one of the only YouTubers who can unironically use the royalty-free ukulele and get away with it. Overall, his videos are pretty wholesome and can definitely help cheer you up sometimes, and all of those reasons combined is why I do recommend checking out his channel. So, the next channel on this list is going to be WaiWai. Now, I'll just start off this introduction by saying that I genuinely think that WaiWai is one of the most talented Let's Players on YouTube, not just in the Japanese sphere, but as a whole. I first discovered his channel through his Lisa Let's Play, and his personality as well as style synergized so well with that game that that series also became another one of my most memorable, enjoyable and favorite moments throughout my entire Japanese learning journey, and I just wish I could watch it again for the very first time. He also has just way too many good moments throughout all of his Let's Plays that it's hard to do justice to exactly how talented he actually is by showing a few clips out of context.
これは枝豆腕が鳴りますね。歩行者専用道路標識。アドリエンヌさん呼びましょう。ちょっとアドリエンヌさん、すいません、聞いてください。アドリエンヌさんあなたそれちょっと外して歩いた方がいい。道路交通に影響が出ます。そしてこれが最後あんのかい。レッドカーペットが赤くないの。お客様にはレッドカーペットの上を歩いていただかないと。いや、それは別に買えばいいじゃないですか。 レッドカーペット、これここに書くんです。で、レッドカーペット。こんなの別にでも赤く書けるぐらい。こうですか？こういう感じにしときますか？じゃあ。難しいな。どんなデザインにしていくか。だいぶこう味が出てきた感じがする。これいいな。これいいぞ。これは、かなり味出たな、これ。おい。なんだこれは。これおじいちゃんの車ですか？これ。おじいちゃんの車？これ。新しい車を、おじいちゃんの車なんですか？これ。ごめん。ちょっと軽い事故は起きてしもうたけど。後ろにコロコロって行かへんようにしたらええと思う。ほんで歩けるやろ？ほら。怪物みたいになった君、ここで友達を待ってるんだ。友達ほら、友達はあっちの方にいるんだけど、あっちのあれついてるから、ほら火くれてきたよ。早く助けに行ってあげなよ。友達ほら、ほら友達そこだ。ほら見てごらん。しゃあないな。追いついた。どう？ほら友達よかったね。友達だって分かってもらえてよかったね。変わりはった姿やったけど、これから友達大切にしいな。こんなものしかあげられないけど。何くれんの？うんこ？ありがとう。ほんま不遇や思う、あいつ。もうめっちゃ増えてるやん、お前。この日本の少子高齢化に打って出てほしいわ。トレーナーはね、声をかけたら勝負やねんって分かった。ほんで勝負しような。また日本の三権分立の制度の理解も乏しい君とな、おじさん勝負したら女。ブンブンハロー YouTube。 みんなもいい子で部屋を明るくしてテレビとかから離れてみてね。ブンブン
どうししょくん元気？
The sixth channel on this list is Baabapapa. Their videos primarily consist of 3D animations, music, skits, or everything combined, and they have a level of taste as well as talent that I have no choice but to include him in this video. The Japanese of this channel is once again rather difficult for a learner, especially considering that many of the videos also include humor and concepts that occasionally require a bit of cultural knowledge of various areas to actually understand, but luckily it's one of those channels that can be enjoyable even when you don't understand any Japanese whatsoever, especially when it comes to the music, which is also why I leave the rest of it for you to discover by yourself.
堀本さん、こんな単語知ってます？
はい。
トリコトゥース。
トリコトゥース。
はい。これ意味が編み物をする女性。特にフランス革命の際にギロチン処刑に参列し、たくさんの首が転がってる中でも座って編み物をする女性っていう英単語です、ね。
The next channel I'm going to be introducing is Yuru gaku rajio. Essentially, it's a podcast that covers various interesting topics related to linguistics, language, and so on, and it's run by two hosts who are well-read and entertaining to the extent that despite the podcast being about a seemingly dry topic, their Japanese-style humor and presentation have made it captivating even to people who otherwise would have never touched the topic with a 20-foot pole. For example, the episode from the intro talks about a book written by a person who read an English dictionary for an entire year straight, as well as what interesting words they found, and how immersing with such rare vocabulary started affecting his everyday life. They also brought an example that if you opened said dictionary on a random page, the chance of encountering the word tricotus is as low as your son becoming a professional athlete. I actually have an Anki card that includes that word because I mined a bunch of other words from the same scene, as you can probably guess, once again, this channel requires very advanced Japanese, which is why it eventually actually became one of my main sources of immersion and sentence mining, because I was able to find new words quite quickly from these videos compared to other ones. They also have a second podcast for computer science, and there's actually an entire network of smaller channels as well, each with their own hosts and different areas of interest. I definitely recommend checking out these podcasts, especially since even if you can't really understand everything yet, you can still use them as passive immersion when you're going to the gym and so on.
はい、じゃあ続けてやります。トゥームレイダー3のインターナショナルですね。よろしくお願いします。とりあえず、バールド、スイッチと押しているので、あとは、適当なところから登って、ごめんなさい。
Speaking of passive immersion, one of my favorite channels to listen to in the background whilst I'm doing something else, such as practicing drawing, has been RRRtoXXX. What makes their videos so great for semi-active immersion is that he's very calm and relaxed, but not completely monotone. Not only that, but he also has let's plays of certain games that I've personally played in the past, such as the original Tomb Raider series, as well as other ones that I've actually never played, but were interesting to zone out to, such as Shadow Tower, as well as Parasite Eve. The reason let's plays with his style of commentary work so well for semi-active immersion is that even if you miss a few sentences here and there, it's totally fine, as there is nothing that you really need to keep track of, because you can just tune in and out whenever it naturally happens. Despite this channel being quite small, it actually has around 5,000 videos, as they've been uploading daily for over 10 years, but his style has remained more or less unchanged throughout the entire period, so you can check his playlists or use the search bar to see if there's anything that might interest you.
はい、どうもサリです。本日もご視聴いただきありがとうございます。今日も元気に千葉からモトブログをお届けしたいと思います。よいしょ。すごいですね。誰もいない。第2ビルまで500メートルということですね。すごい。こうやって見てみると本当に昭和で時が止まっているという感じはしますね。
Another channel that you might be interested in is Sary Motovlogs, which has a lot of videos of casually visiting and checking out various abandoned or interesting places in Japan, mostly in the Chiba prefecture. There's nothing too crazy in the videos, in the sense that it's a rather mature and calm channel, and he just checks out the places without being too intrusive, but it can still be rather eye-opening or great for sentence mining as well as semi-active immersion, so I still recommend that you check it out. Anyway, now I would like to swiftly introduce 5 channels in a row, starting with the legendary Masahiro Sakurai and his channel on creating games that has easily digestible, informative videos, not just on game design, but also business, team management, productivity, and various things related to running a company. Next is Geemu Sanpo, which is a channel where the host invites a professional from a certain industry to comment over footage of a game, such as a lawyer who commented on all the laws that were broken over a short drive in GTA 5, or a psychiatrist analyzing a rather psychological game, and so on. After that, there is this channel called RRRtoXXX, which is essentially ran by a Japanese guy who likes Western rap music and has tons of videos talking about interesting stories related to various artists, genres, cultural phenomena, and so on. Then we have a channel called Fukumen Fuufu that introduces various home gym equipment, and it can be quite informative about the choices you might have, especially if you live in Japan. Another gym related channel is Squat Senpai, who is a pretty legendary Olympic weightlifter that due to an injury has recently started focusing on bodybuilding instead. He has various astonishing videos, and recently he also had a few collaborations with Clarence Kennedy, which were pretty interesting and hilarious as well.
Hikakin TV Everyday Hello YouTube どうもヒカキンです。大変長らくお待たせしました。ついにこの子の名前を決めましたそれでは早速発表します。
And finally, the last YouTuber I'll be introducing in this video is going to be Hikakin. Now, I understand that he's not going to appeal to everyone, as his channel is, let's say, quite family friendly, and he's an actual YouTuber if you know what I mean. However, I feel like I should still at least mention him. The reason why is because, well, first of all, if you're learning Japanese and trying to familiarize yourself with Japanese pop culture, especially that of YouTube, you will see references and mentions of Hikakin pretty much everywhere. In fact, even a highlight that I included earlier in the video had a very direct Hikakin reference. Not only that, but I genuinely think that many of his videos are entertaining, or at least made in a way to keep your attention span, which obviously can be very valuable when you're trying to be consistent with learning Japanese. He's been on YouTube since 2006, so he has a ridiculous amount of videos, but personally I discovered his channel through his aluminum ball series as well as his cat videos, which were a wholesome watch when I was already tired and just wanted something relaxing at the end of the day, and I think they also serve as a nice intro to the channel because the first few episodes also have manually created Japanese subtitles. He of course has some other fun videos as well, such as his stories of working at a supermarket and so on. For those of you who haven't realized yet, Hikakin is the biggest YouTuber in Japan. But to me, it's no surprise considering that not only is he actually pretty talented, but he's also incredibly resilient as he has been working extremely hard and consistently for years and years. He also has this really inspiring and positive attitude of always moving forward and taking on whatever challenges might face him, and I feel like that's the true lesson that can be learned from his channel and personality, which is also why I decided that I will still proudly include him in this video and recommend that you go check out at least some of his videos yourself that I'll be linking in the description, and the same goes for all the other YouTubers that I mentioned in this video. Well, that was my personal list of my 15 favorite YouTube channels for Japanese immersion, and I hope that down the road you'll gain something valuable from this video. Also, the unfortunate reality is that these videos are not sustainable on their own, so if you'd like to see my channel actually continue on into the future, I'd really appreciate if you'd consider becoming a supporter on Patreon or using my Migaku ref link, which is a really useful language learning service, especially for sentence manning YouTube, but they have many additional features in the works as well, so I leave links to both my Patreon and Migaku in the description. There's actually another reason I made this video as well, which is that for the past 2 years I had been learning Japanese almost exclusively by watching and sentence manning YouTube videos until I hit 20,000 cards, and I wanted to say farewell by making this video, as now it's time for me to move on to the next stage, which you could even say is no longer about learning, but instead about finally enjoying the results of the effort I put in over the past 5 years, as very soon from now I'll be going to Japan for the very first time in my life.